But again, you got to recognize there are some adverse effects on the endocrine system. Like they say in the first paragraph, what's the endocrine system? That's your hormones. That's your testosterone. Since 1983, we've known that marijuana interacts with the estrogen receptor. I'm going to do a 3-part series on marijuana. This one obviously is going to be about estrogen, how it acts like estrogen in your body, at least the smoke does. Second part of this series is going to be about the benefits of cannabis. And then finally, the third part is going to be about genetic changes and variability between people. If you've got genes that are beneficial for different aspects of cannabis, or maybe you've got genes that are not so beneficial. We'll talk about that in part 3. So let's start with estrogen, because I get a lot of questions about this. You know, obviously soy and flax, I've done videos on those. They're crazy high estrogen levels. Lavender, I've done videos on that. Another new study just came out on that. It acts like estrogen. It activates the estrogen receptor. You can prove it in cells. And that's a pretty strong argument. Let's look at 1983, the American Society for Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics journal. This paper is called Marijuana, Interaction with the Estrogen Receptor. Couldn't be more straightforward. It starts by saying crude marijuana extract competed with estradiol for binding to the estrogen receptor. You know, if you've got estrogen floating around in your blood, it binds to the estrogen receptor and acts on your DNA. It actually goes into your nucleus and acts on the DNA directly in your cells. That's why there's so many long-term changes in multiple generations, especially in fertility, if there are multiple generations. But anyways, it competes with estradiol for binding to the estrogen receptor. Crude estrogen extract in rat uterine cytosol. Condensed marijuana smoke also competed with estradiol. Okay, that's 1983. What's the newer research suggesting or saying? Well, here's 2006. They've done the study. It's in the Journal of Toxicology and Applied Pharmacology. This paper is called Estrogenic Effects of Marijuana Smoke Condensate and Cannabinoid Compounds. They've looked at both. They looked at the smoke. They looked at the CBD. What did they find? Well, they say chronic exposure to marijuana produces adverse effects on endocrine and reproductive systems in humans, especially in teenagers. Why? Just showed you, 1983, man. Come on, pay attention. However, the experimental evidence for this thus far has not been without controversy. Why? Because of all the benefits. We'll talk about that in the next episode. But again, you got to recognize there are some adverse effects on the endocrine system. Like they say in the first paragraph, what's the endocrine system? That's your hormones. That's your testosterone. That's your estrogen. In this study, the estrogenic effects of marijuana smoke condensate was evaluated. And then they talk about all these different assays. They used reporter gene assays. That's when your receptor gets activated and acts directly on the DNA and makes a gene expresses a gene, reporter gene, etc. They talk about all these assays they ran. But get this, marijuana smoke condensate stimulated estrogenicity. I love that word. Related to the estrogen-mediated pathway. But neither THC, CBD, nor CBN did. In other words, those aspects did not activate the estrogen. They even introduced a paper by saying marijuana contains more than 400 compounds. It's not like it's just one thing, people. You know? And so basically the conclusion really is that the smoke acts like estrogen in your body. The rest of it doesn't. The CBD, no. The THC, no. So even if you're eating it, there's not any evidence thus far that acts like estrogen, because you've got gut bacteria that are breaking down. So only the smoke condensate. So something about smoking marijuana specifically causes it to act like estrogen in your body. And again, if you're not breaking, so some people have genetic changes, especially in their CYP1B1 gene. That's where I see it frequently. If you've got a problem with your CYP1B1 gene, you're going to struggle to break down estrogen. It's going to build up. Marijuana smoke is going to cause more health issues relating to estrogen symptoms. But Again, there's a lot of benefits. We don't want to overlook those. We'll talk about them in the next episode.